Hey guys, thanks for joining us. I'm Russ, a team member here on staff. And if this is your first time joining us online, let me just say welcome. I think that you're going to find meeting together like this is a great way to stay connected. And if you're new to Mountain Springs and you're wondering what we're all about, we have a great opportunity for you coming up on the 13th of September called First Step. You see, the First Step event is an incredible opportunity for you to hear from our pastors and leaders personally. You can get to know our culture, ask questions, and find ways where you can get plugged in and begin serving right alongside the team. We even have childcare available for those of you who need it. So please, feel free to come and join us for a night of food and fun. You can find all the details for First Step on our app. Well, guys, listen, I am very excited to announce that Todd will be bringing today's message as we continue in our series in the book of James. You see, Scott is not only a friend and member here at Mountain Springs, he is the president of One Child, a global outreach ministry that advocates for children in hard places all around the world. Scott and his team provide holistic care so that these children have hope and thrive. Talk about living generous lives. So I know Scott's ready for us. So let's get ready to join him by preparing our hearts in this time of worship.
I am weary from the way crashing over every day. God of mercy, please come rescue me. I am longing for your voice, a gentle whisper in the noise. Father, tell me everything's alright. Your power, your presence breaks strongholds. King of heaven, when you speak, mountains move. I believe there will be breakthrough. You alone can take my scars, piece by piece restore my heart. Take what's broken, make it whole again. Your power, your presence breaks strongholds. King of heaven, when you speak, mountains move. I believe there will be breakthrough. There will be breakthrough. Shake the mountains, break the walls apart, open the heavens. Almighty God, you are overcomer, defender of my heart. By your power, the oceans open wide, your fire falls down, heaven and earth collide. King Jesus, forever by my side. Oh, shake the mountains, yeah, shake the mountains, break the just say yes to all that you are. God, that you are the God of breakthrough. Thank you that that's who you are. That's the God that we worship. The God who makes a difference in our life. Jesus, we love you. We honor you. We love you. Thank you.
The reign of darkness now has ended in the kingdom of light, in the kingdom of light. Forever on your dominion, you're the king of my life, you're the king of my life. You reign above it all, you reign above it all, over the universe and over every heart. There is no higher name. Jesus, you reign above it all. On the cross, the work was finished. God, you poured out your life just to give us new life. Now from the lips of the forgiven, hear an anthem arise. 'Cause Jesus, you're alive. Oh, you reign above it all. You reign above it all. Over the universe and over every heart, there is no higher name. Jesus, you reign above it all. Let all of heaven and the earth erupt in song. Sing hallelujah to the everlasting one. There is no higher name. Jesus, you reign above it all. Yeah, you reign above it all. Oh, you sent the darkness running out of an empty grave. Now seated alone in glory, enthroned on the highest praise. You sent the darkness running out of an empty grave. Now seated alone in glory, enthroned on the highest praise. Lift your voice. You sent the darkness running out of an empty grave. Now seated alone in glory, enthroned on the highest praise.
Mountain Springs. It is great to be with you and have this chance to connect, to worship together, to continue in our study of the book of James. And just excited for this opportunity. Love being here. As Bobby mentioned last week, we started in chapter 1 and then jumped to chapter 3, and now we're going back to chapter 2, and he's like, that was just, that doesn't make sense. It was because of a schedule conflict, and that's me. So on me, I'm sorry. I was in the Philippines last week, and that's why we're kind of jumping back and forth. Look forward to sharing with you some of the things that we saw and experienced there in the Philippines, some really great stuff that is made possible through the partnership with Mountain Springs. Good stuff. And but I'm having a little trouble getting back in the time zone. Just got back a few days ago. I've done this for years and years, and I don't know if I'm just getting old or if it's like what, but so if I look a little bleary-eyed or, bedraggled or something the cat just drug in, that's just the face God gave me, so have mercy. I'll do my best to stay coherent and keep things on focus. Let me ask you a question. Raise your hand if you agree with the following statement, okay? Ready? Raise your hand if you agree with this statement. Action speaks louder than words. Yeah? Okay, almost everybody is agreeing with that. Action, even this little guy doesn't know what it means, but he agrees. Action speaks louder than words. That's a common phrase. We know that. And it just makes sense. No problem. We can agree with that. That's basically the entire book of James right there, okay? I don't even think we need multi-part series and a whole sermon on it. It's like action speaks louder than words. That's really what James is saying. That's what we heard from Pastor Hector a couple of weeks ago. We heard it again last week. It's really about the role of action, and it's not controversial, right? It's pretty straightforward. As Bobby put it last week, James is not about salvation through works. It's about what salvation looks like in action. And that's it. So, for example, you know a lot about a person by their actions. And, for example, we know that Bobby is a Kansas City Chiefs fan. I mean, we do. We know that. How do we know? Because he has the audacity to wear that ratty old Kansas City Chiefs t-shirt right here to church, right up here on this stage, even during worship. So here we are trying to worship, and we have to look at that. So we know he's a Kansas City Chiefs fan. I mean, what would it be like if somebody claimed to be a Kansas City Chiefs fan, but they did not wear a Chiefs t-shirt? Or maybe they didn't even own one. Or they'd never been to Arrowhead Stadium, or they don't even watch the Chiefs on TV. They don't even know who Patrick Mahomes is. Can such a person actually be a Kansas City Chiefs fan? Some of you are like, yeah, it sounds like a Chiefs fan. No, we'll flip it around. Okay, Broncos fan. Is it really possible to be a Broncos fan and not hate the Kansas City Chiefs? No. So you see what I'm getting at? I mean, you get the point I'm trying to make here. That what you believe, what you say is going to show up in your actions, right? I mean, it's just not a mystery. It'd be like a chef claiming to be a chef but not knowing how to toast toast. That just doesn't happen. So the character that's on the inside shows up on the outside. What you believe in, the claims that you make, and that's not a controversial thing at all. Now, somehow, James did become controversial for Christians, and that got mentioned before. And it's a little weird. I don't know quite how that happened, but I think it goes back even to the Protestant Reformation, where the church at the time, the Catholic or Universal Church, had a lot of works-based salvation going on. It was indulgences and it was penance-type stuff, and it kind of emerged as you've got to earn that salvation by being more good than you are bad, right? And so the correction to that was a clear message: no, salvation comes through grace by faith, right? And we even heard this verse from Ephesians 2 read to us previously, classic, by grace you have been saved through faith. This is Ephesians 2:8. And this is not from yourselves, it is a gift of God, not by works, so that no one can boast. And a lot of times we'll stop right there and see, crystal clear. But you know what? Paul doesn't skip a beat. This isn't James versus Paul. What's the very next verse from Paul in this letter? For we are God's handiwork, created in Christ Jesus to do good works. Not ending there, to do good works which he has prepared in advance for us to do. In other words, grace and works are this receiving, this liberation, and then for purpose, right? Saved by grace, we're his workmanship, we're his project, he's fixing us, for purpose, to then live out of that place of grace for good works that he's given us in advance to do. So all of us, each of us individually, have something God intends for us to do. There's a way in which we're going to live out of his guiding spirit in our lives to be salt and light and to bring blessing and to do good works, no matter what your job, no matter your social economic status, no matter nothing, your education, whatever. That is how God is at work in this world through us. So it's not grace versus works, it is grace produces works, right? And Dallas Willard said it this way: grace is not opposed to effort, it is opposed to earning. Okay, so I think we've all got that. We're all there, that we know that we are not somehow earning our salvation by being good, and yet the role of works, the expression of having been saved and experiencing that grace, is definitely to do good works. So Pastor Hector highlighted a couple of weeks ago chapter 1, verse 27, where James says, "Do not merely listen to the word and so deceive yourselves, do what it says." Action speaks louder than words. There it is again, right? And we finished chapter 1 on this verse that's very familiar to many of you, I'm sure. Religion that God our Father accepts as pure and faultless is this: to look after orphans and widows in their distress and keep oneself from being polluted by the world. So what you got to picture the context of this. You know, the religious people at the time, they had a lot of show, okay? So they had robes and tassels, and sometimes they'd strap boxes on their foreheads, and they did funky stuff to their hair, and they had a lot of display of their righteousness, of their religiosity. And so what you have here is James saying, you want what true religion looks like? It's demonstrating the unconditional love of God to the people who can't pay you back, to the people who are vulnerable, to the people who need to experience that demonstration of love. The widow in that time, she had no economic source of stability, no income, no status in society, couldn't vote, and highly vulnerable. She needed people to care for her, to look out for her. The orphan, right? So that's what James is saying. It's like he's building from, it's about living it out. You got to walk the talk, right? And so it's not the show, it's not the display of that kind of religion. It's living out that love you've received, and now are you demonstrating that, especially to the most vulnerable. So that's the launch pad from chapter 1 into chapter 2, and we can just dive into chapter 2, where we begin. My brothers and sisters, believers in our glorious Lord Jesus Christ, must not show favoritism. Suppose a man comes into your meeting wearing a gold ring and fine clothes, and a poor man in filthy clothes also comes in. If you show special attention to the man wearing fine clothes and say, "Here's a good seat for you," but to the poor man, "You stand there," or "Sit here at my feet," have you not discriminated amongst yourselves and become judges with evil thoughts? Listen, my dear brothers and sisters, has not God chosen those who are poor in the eyes of the world to be rich in faith and to inherit the kingdom he has promised to those who love him? And then jumping down to verse 14, he cut straight to the point. What good is it, my brothers and sisters, if someone claims to have faith but has no deeds? Can such a faith save him? Or suppose a brother or sister without clothes or daily food, suppose a brother or sister is without clothes and daily food. If one of you says to them, "Go in peace, keep warm and well fed," but does nothing about their physical needs, what good is it? In the same way, faith by itself, if it is not accompanied by action, is dead. And then, as if we might have missed the point, he comes back to it again in verse 26, repeats it, drives it home. Verse 26, as the body without the spirit is dead, so faith without deeds is dead. That word dead means just not. Faith without deeds isn't. In a way, it's like saying it can't exist. Okay? It's action speaks louder than words, but really the claim is simple here, that if a person says they have faith, but there's no evidence of that in their life, it's a false claim. So pretty straightforward, not controversial, but definitely demanding, kind of challenging. But if you think about it, it does make perfect sense, doesn't it? I mean, it's the same thing that we read about in Galatians 5:22 about the fruit of the Spirit. You see, if I actually believe that God, the creator of the whole universe, who loves me, has offered me the opportunity to be in relationship with him, and I have submitted my life to him, I have said, Jesus is Lord, I have invited Christ into my life, and that his Spirit then is at work in me, and I am claiming to be a follower of Jesus. I want to follow his way. I'm his disciple, his apprentice. I am going to be different, right? I am. In Galatians 5:22, it says what happens, the fruit of the Spirit, the manifestation of the Spirit being at work in you. What does that look like? The fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, gentleness, faithfulness, self-control. These are all characteristics in here, but they're experienced in our actions, right? When it says they'll know we're Christians by our love, they'll know that there's love by our actions. So there's this inner transformation going on. We're living with the Spirit, and we begin to manifest those changes as a result, and those are evident. Those are evident. We have to live a countercultural life. That is, a little bit of that, keep oneself from being polluted by the world. It isn't to call us out of that and live in a bubble, but it is to be able to live within that and change it. That's that being salt and light, right? The agent of his advancing purposes. If you're in alignment with what he's called you to do and you're out there living the way he's called you to be loving, then what? Well, in a world filled with conflict, right? We're in a world filled with conflict. What's the latest thing to light up social media? We're peacemakers. Blessed are the peacemakers. In a world of greed, we're generous, right? In a world of selfishness, we serve. In a world filled with hate, we love. So we will live differently. It isn't about any of that earning salvation. It is nothing to do with that. It is the fact that I am free. Because I've received that grace, I have been broken free from the shackles of really the old me that had all my habits and issues and also needed to prove myself to people. I don't have that anymore. I don't have anything to prove to anybody. Why? Because God, by his grace, has affirmed and approved me. And I can walk in that freedom and go be the person he designed me to be and go do the works he's called me to do, which he planned in advance, as it says, and live that life without the risk of like, oh, I got to kind of gain approval. I need to be seen. I need to be heard. That's not it at all. So it's because of the freedom that we have in Christ and the grace that we've received that we go out and live that transformed life, and works will be an evidence of that. Nothing about earning in any of this, and it's also not a James thing. This is a scripture thing. I already talked about how Paul moved straight from salvation by faith, by grace through faith, and then for works. Now, look at what Jesus teaches in Matthew chapter 7, 24 to 27, about listening and doing. Therefore, everyone who hears these words of mine and puts them into practice, takes action, is like a wise man who built his house on the rock. The rain came down, the streams rose, the winds blew and beat against that house, yet it did not fall. But everyone who hears these words of mine and does not put them into action, put them into practice, is like a foolish man who built his house on the sand. The rain came down, the streams rose, the wind blew, beat against that house, and it fell with a great crash. Or again, similar to the teaching that Jesus gives us in Matthew chapter 12, verse 34, out of the overflow of the heart, the mouth speaks, right? A good man brings good things out of the good stored up within him, and an evil man brings evil things out of the evil stored up within him. What's in here is going to be expressed. And if we're followers of Jesus, if we receive that grace and we're walking in that way, then deeds and works, that's gonna be there. It's part of it. It's how we respond to that grace, right? So it's not controversial, it's just demanding, and James is just saying you got to walk the talk. Action speaks louder than words, kind of like a Broncos fan who hates the Chiefs. I guess, amen. Man's in the zone. Or I guess it's kind of like Bobby in that t-shirt. You know, Bobby, I was thinking of you this morning as I was having my cereal. My cereal. Patrick Mahomes Magic Crunch cereal. True Chiefs fans eat this cereal, Bobby. And I know I've lost credibility with many of you right now. But I'm just saying, you can take the man out of Kansas, but you can't take Kansas out of the man. Yeah, you're not even going to listen anymore. So as I said at the beginning, you know what? I love Mountain Springs. I love this church. Love being a part of it. Bethany and I just love it. And part of the reason we love it is sharing this message on James 2 tonight. It's great. You know, there's a lot of churches I would not want to speak on James 2 because, you know, they're just kind of those sit on their hands, do nothing type churches. And that is not you. That is not us. You know, you guys are living it out. So talking about James 2 and faith without deeds is dead and action speaks louder than words, I hope you hear that as celebration and affirmation, because that is what is going on here all the time in so many ways. And we've been seeing that for years, that this is a church that is walking the talk, that is living it out, that is honoring what that says there in James 2, at least as a community. Maybe you individually can do some soul searching. I don't know, that's between you and God, but I can tell you that this church is demonstrating love in every neighborhood and is constantly thinking, how can we bring a blessing to this community? And the latest example is that counseling center. And I know a lot of you gave sacrificially to bring that to this community, and it matters. It matters. There are needs in this community for mental health, and to create a place like that and to create those services is living out James 2. And you're not just doing it here locally, you're doing it around the world. And I serve as president for One Child. It's an organization that works with kids in very difficult places. And we have a strategic partnership with Mountain Springs, which is fantastic. It is fantastic. And you know what? Mountain Springs, you sponsor over 250 children around the world. That's right. It is amazing, and we celebrate that. And when I was over in the Philippines just this last week, I had the chance to go out to some of those areas where there are new Hope Centers, including one that launched specifically because of the Mountain Springs partnership, as well as others where there are kids that some of you are sponsoring. And man, I'll tell you more about this, but as I was going along, I tried to just grab some little video clips, and then I had a friend of mine who'd previously been there had some drone footage so that you can just get a glimpse and hear from some of the leaders there on the ground in the Philippines, and then I'll tell you a little bit more about what that looks like. But let's go ahead and watch this quick video.
Greetings, my brothers and sisters from Mountain Springs Church. I am Todd, and I work for One Child here in Asia. Thank you for the support that you're giving, your kindness and your graciousness to children. You know what? It provides hope for them, and it creates a wonderful opportunity for them to become how they are created by God. Just would like to say thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. In the Philippines, we say maraming salamat to all of you. May you be blessed by the Lord, honored by what you're doing for the sake of the children in hard places.
Hello, Mountain Springs. Greetings from the Philippines. I'm here with Pastor Edwin. Pastor Edwin leads the church that you guys are partnered with here in the Philippines. I thought it'd be great if you could meet him and he could say a quick hello.
Yeah, great to see and say hello to the brethren in Mountain Spring. I'm Brother Edwin that is overseeing the ministry with Panayanon Bukidnon tribe and their page 020 in Tapas Capiz. And we're so grateful for your help and support to our children. It really served a good thing for them and they would know and love Jesus. Thank you.
Amen. Yeah, it was, I got to tell you, one of the more difficult to access Hope Centers, 5 hours in a four-wheel drive vehicle, climbing over rock, going through mudslides, having vehicles get stuck and pulling them out with tow straps just to get out there. But you know, what makes it a hard place isn't that it's remote or that there's the economic poverty there. There's other realities that make it a hard place. And so I want to tell you just a little context. The story of One Child being able to partner in that community began with God at work 20 years ago. And you may not know this. If you think of the Philippines, you might think more of a Christian or Catholic country, and it is. But in the southern island, and this island is Mindanao, there's a lot of Muslim presence. And so Mindanao was a seedbed for Islamic extremism and terrorists. And you can still see the photos of Most Wanted, in that area. They're still trying to hunt down some of the terrorists that are in that place. And so about 20 years ago, as it was 2004, there's this Filipino pastor. Guy's name is Ives. And in the midst of all of that, after they just had the airport bombed, the pastor Ives feels called by God to go reach the people in those tribal communities. And so he begins going out there, and he learns later that the tribal elder or the chief in that area had already planned to kill him. And, there was like a high risk. But through his courage and his faithfulness, he met that tribal chief, built a relationship, and over years established the trust to be able to share Jesus with that community, and then began planting churches. And all of that work had happened leading up to then us coming in, looking for the opportunity to partner with a local church in a high-risk area. And, none of the other organizations, there's a lot of other Christian organizations working and doing humanitarian stuff, and we met with all these other leaders to say, where are the others not? Because that's where we want to go. And they said, Mindanao. And so through that, our leadership formed a partnership there and began registering kids who showed up here. And then you started sponsoring them, and support was flowing through the system. And I was there to cut the ribbon on a new school that was just built in that community for kids who didn't have birth certificates, no access to education, no access to public health services. And their parents are saying, what do we want for our kids? We want them to be educated. Actually, the phrase was, we want them to grow up to be professionals. So they want education for their kids. And because of the work of God that led to that open door, and then us getting out into that hard place for the partnership, made possible because you guys are sponsoring those kids. Yeah. Really, it's kingdom work. And so there's seasons, and we have our part to play there. It was a great experience. One of the kids that I met out there, we have a photo just of one girl that I met at her home, which is right behind her. An example of one of the children that's registered in the Hope Center. I don't know if she's sponsored or not, but her name is Jenny, and we often will ask a kid, what do you want to be when you grow up? Which is some kids who, I don't know, is a low sense of aspiration for the future, but if they have an answer for that, it gives you some insight. Are they thinking about the future and what they want to become and the things they might need to get there? And guess what Jenny said she wants to be? She wants to be a policewoman. She's a little too cute, but I'll see if she can pull that off. So not only in these tribal communities, we also have launched new Hope Centers in coastal communities and in the cities. And so one of the other teams went to a community called the Bajau, and Leanna, who's here tonight, was a part of that visit, knows the Bajau community well. The first photo here just shows you what this community looks like. Imagine living in that kind of place in a country that has regular typhoons. It's a highly vulnerable situation, and they regularly face natural disasters. The next photo shows you some of the kids that live in that community. We have some kids here who probably are thinking about, what do they have? Yeah, they did. They caught a bird. They're holding a bird, which is pretty fun. Some of these kids are registered and in the program. Others are not, but we're hoping to grow, expand, register more kids, and reach them. These are some of the kids at the Hope Center listening to their teacher. As I mentioned before, education is very important. It's one of the things that you provide, helping them with education through sponsorship. And the next slide, really looking at this kid, Justin. He's super cool. A previous visit had come in and taken some photos, and Justin comes up. And if you've been in those situations, if you take a picture, then show, now the digital, and the kids love that. And so that happened with Justin, and then he grabbed the camera. And the photographer was kind enough and had enough faith, I guess, to just let Justin take this quite nice camera and start booking it around the community, taking pictures of just everything. And so now we have like this photo log of all these pictures that Justin took of how he saw his community. And then that turned into a story that our communication team has about him. So if you go to the onechild.org website, you can look at the blog. There's a whole story about Justin, who now wants to be a photographer. Yeah, pretty cool, cute kid, a lot of personality. The moms in this community in the next photo, they love their kids, just like we love our kids, right? They want their kids to thrive. They want their kids to do well in life. But these moms, especially, there are a lot of barriers to that. It's a hard life, very little opportunity, lots of risks and threats that their kids are going to face. And so to break that generational cycle is to come alongside of that mom and help provide the protection and care that those kids need to give those kids a chance. And so we have a lot of emphasis on what we call family engagement. Even if it's not a mom or dad, if it's a kid who's living with grandpa or an auntie or something else, we want that primary person who knows and loves the kid and is raising the kid to be involved in that Hope Center program. So that's a big part of what we're doing there as well. So I think that's it for the photos. No, there's one more photo. I don't really have words for this. This photo in the Bajau community captures the stark contrast between the beauty of that girl and the brokenness of the world that she has to navigate. So there she is walking barefoot through trash and muck and used needles and broken glass, and she deserves a better world. And these are the kind of kids that we want to reach and that we are reaching because of this partnership with Mountain Springs. So when we talk about James chapter 2, it is an affirmation. It is a celebration because you guys are living it out locally and globally, that kids in hard places are being given opportunities to grow up to become who God intended them to be. Not just opening, new hope centers and reaching kids, but all kinds of other kingdom impact that happens through this. So I'm really here just to say thank you. Thank you for your heart for Jesus. Thank you for the way that you live out your faith, that it is action speaking louder than words, the testimony of the gospel demonstrated and spoken live right here. And that's why Bethany and I love being a part of this church community. So, by the way, if you aren't already sponsoring a child, today is your day. We've got more kids in the Philippines that have been registered. Some of these kids maybe, or other tribal communities or coastal communities. But we also are expanding our work in Kenya. And so you'll see a lot of kids from Kenya that are available for sponsorship, as well as more in Haiti. So again, if you're not already doing that, stop out in the lobby, fill out the form. Don't leave with the form. Somebody once said that's like kidnapping. It just means nobody else can sponsor that kid, and it takes us a while to track it down. So please do fill out the form and leave it. If you're joining us online, there should be a link right there for you to be able to do that. And again, super grateful for the partnership with Mountain Springs and all that it means, both locally and globally. As I wrap up, I want to share a video with you. And what I love about this video, short video, is it begins with a statement: "My dreams begin when I wake up." And you're going to see the story of that through these children's lives, their dreams, what they aspire to become, like Jenny being a policewoman or Justin a photographer. But there's such a profound truth that really waking up to this life, us, opening our eyes to the moment of life that God has given us. We get one shot at this, right? And if we're walking through our days without dreams, without any hope or passion or something that, like, that sense of what God has called us to do, we're sleepwalking. Dreams begin when you wake up and realize this is it, this is your life, these are your days. And the last thing any of us want to do is wander through this life like a zombie, right? So hope, that vision for a better future, the skill and effort and determination to find a way to get to that better future, and the courage it takes to walk on that path to your better future. That is the work that we do. And all of us need it, right? All of us have had times when we are not seeing that better future, or when it just doesn't seem like we can get out of this, where that problem is just entrenched and it's got me stuck. We have to be able to see the other side of that problem. We have to be able to see the solution. We have to find a way forward through that, right? If you've got a passion, the God ignited a passion in your heart, those good works that he has planned in advance for you to do, and you've got your eyes closed over here. This video, I know it's just to encourage you to sponsor children, but the video is profoundly important to say your dreams begin when you wake up to the reality that God's presence is with you. You've been liberated from sin. You've been called and commissioned to go live into that passion. And when you do, life will find full flavor. You'll find your joy. So thank you very much. Watch this video.
My dreams start when I wake up. I dream before I become maybe a doctor or a teacher, or I could have my own business.
But it's more than that too. I dream of life without the hard things that surround me.
I dream of a full life with more happy moments. I am on a journey, and sometimes it's scary, which means I have to be brave.
But I am not alone. This journey is surrounded by champions helping me, listening to me and believing in me.
This is a journey with laughs.
A journey with lots of work.
A journey with care.
A journey with love.
A journey that is hard but no longer hopeless.
A journey that starts with someone far away.
Someone who wants me to thrive.
Someone who believes in me and everything I will become.
Someone like you.
What a powerful message. You know, I love the way that Scott summed up this entire book in one sentence. Actions speak louder than words. Well, if today's message spoke to you and you're looking for a way to take action, join Scott and One Child and make a difference. You can find all the details on our app. So until next time, remember this: you are loved. Have a great week.